Well, hey everybody, and welcome back to Oklahoma Ride Along. Thanks for choosing to join me and view my content. I appreciate it. Well, so if you've been keeping up with the story, you'll know that an old friend has finally made it back to the farm. Yes, our Case 4490 is back from the dealership. It's got a new lease on life, and it is ready to do some work. So let's take a look at our menu here, and we'll notice, first thing we'll notice is that we had wheat on field 34 and 35, we had corn on field 33, and we had soybeans on field 32. Next thing we'll notice is that everything has been harvested. And the third thing we're going to notice is that field 33 needs to be plowed. All right. So what we're going to do is we are going to make that happen today. But first, I'm going to show you a little investment that I made for the farm. Now this is obviously a tank skid. It will hold 20,000 liters, and I forget how many gallons that is. It's like 15,000 gallons or something pretty close to that. We do have a load of liquid fertilizer in it right now. I had a load, and a load is about 4,200 gallons. I had that delivered to the farm. Now, a load of liquid fertilizer, 28% UAN. Now, that cost me $8,135 for the fertilizer. And then to have it trucked to the farm and dropped off was another 300 bucks. So I've got, call it $8,400 worth of fertilizer in the tanks right now. And so I'm pretty excited about this thing. It's gonna, what it does is allows me to take bulk shipment of fertilizer straight to the farm, and that's going to save me some money because I'm thinking that I'm probably going to shift most, if not all, of my fertilizer application over to a liquid form from here forward. Now, a couple of the reasons for that are I find liquid just easier to handle, and it's easier to have delivered straight here to the farm and handle than say a dry fertilizer or something like that would be. So the fact that I can just get full truckloads now true, I got to buy $8,400 worth of fertilizer at one time, but I should be able to use. I'm thinking I should be able to put all my crops in this year, next year, with this fertilizer. So I'm using the manure mod, which is pretty cool. And if you don't know what the manure mod is, then you probably won't find out in this video, but you'll find out pretty soon. Essentially, what it does is it makes it makes spreading things like liquid manure or fertilizer or transferring water or something like that more realistic in Farming Simulator 19. So pretty excited about that. I'm pretty excited about this tank skid mod because this thing is really detailed, and it works really well. I've tested it out, and it's just a really nice mod. You can find it on the official mod hub, and if you guys need a tank skid for your farm, I would highly recommend it. And it actually looks like something that you would find on an American farm. It actually looks like a pre-made, tank skid. So yeah, it's pretty neat. All right, so let's get to that plow. And first thing we need to do is we need to see if we can get this old disc fixed up. It's going to cost us $26. Cannot beat that. All right, so I pulled this thing out of the fence row this morning, and thankfully all the tires held air, and it's good to go. It's ready to go. So we're actually going to use this disc to do our plowing. Here in Oklahoma, if you know, the field over there is where we're going to do the plowing or the disking. Um, the corn here in Oklahoma, especially the dryland corn, uh, there's not a lot of residue. I mean, our dryland corn is not like the dryland corn you guys have in Ohio or Iowa or Indiana or Kentucky, Missouri maybe. It's not like that. It's very the yields aren't as high. The plants don't get as big. They don't get as tall. Not as many leaves. So there's just not as much material that would need to be incorporated into the soil um, with a plow. Um, and here in Oklahoma, I've mentioned before, we remember the Dust Bowl, and we really just don't do moldboard plowing. If we were gonna plow, if we're having compaction problems, what we would do is we'd pull a ripper or a subsoiler, and then more than likely to smooth up the field, what we do is we would pull a VT or vertical tillage tool, or maybe a lightweight disc or something like that to try to get the field smoothed up after that. Um, but in Oklahoma, what we're going to do if we need to plow, quote unquote plow, we're either going to pull a chisel plow or we're going to pull a disc with pretty good sized blades that's pretty heavy. So that's what we're going to do today. I am pretty excited to have the 4490 back because that means we don't have to use the 4430 and the small disc for this task. Not that smaller disc would be big enough or heavy enough to actually do any actual plowing, anyways. What we'd have to do is what we did last time, and we would actually be using that little John Deere chisel plow like we used the last time. Alright, now this Case 4490 mod is a pretty good mod. One thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to adjust the hitch on this thing, because as you can see right there, I've got the tractor basically turned to the left as hard as I can, and this is as far as it will let the hitch swing of the disc. So if you can see there, you might be able to tell what I'm talking about. I need to work on that because it's not quite, the disc should be able to turn, the hitch should be able to turn a lot further than that. Especially if it's in transport mode or if the wheels are up. So I do need to work on that. I meant to work on that before I started this video, but we'll just roll with it, and maybe we can compare the results before maybe after the next video. Right there, you can kind of see what I'm talking about. You can kind of see how the tractor's like getting pushed, because that's as far as the physics will let the disc tongue move. So that's a little bit unfortunate. There's really, with this 4490 mod, it's a really nice mod. As you can tell, it's very detailed. The cabin is nicely done. All the controls are really cool. I mean, even the gear shifters work. The clutch pedals work. I mean, the pedals work. The steering control lever works and all. I mean, it's a really nice mod. It's really well done. My hats off to the guys that put it together. Okay, now let's get this on a roll. The disc, on the other hand, it's a good mod, and I like the disc, and it fits in well with the story that my game is kind of going with. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about when I say the story that my game is going with, go back and check out some of my earlier episodes, and you'll be able to figure out what I'm talking about there. All right, I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to set up a course play for this, because there's some other stuff that we're going to talk about, and we can talk about that stuff as the tractor is going. Let's see, the way I've done course play in the past, I'm trying to think, and I do believe that, let's see here. Yeah, I think what I need to do is I need to go to the other end of this field, because I'm actually gonna start on the back and forth, long pulls, and so I want to end. I'm gonna select where I end, and it's gonna be over here in this corner. Now, if you guys will notice, the only thing left in my old equipment row that was, of all the dilapidated equipment that I had, the only thing that's left is my cultivator. And it's actually in pretty good shape too. So, super excited to be able to use that big cultivator this time around instead of the smaller one as well. Pretty excited to have this big tractor back. Pretty excited. I think we're gonna stop. We're gonna set this course play up to stop right here. We're gonna do field work. We need to go to course generation. This is field 33 user. Yes, we're gonna have a headland. I'm gonna set up 3 passes. We're gonna do it counterclockwise. We're gonna start working on the up and down rows. Smooth corners, all that. We're ending location is going to be the current vehicle position. Yep. Starting direction. We'll leave that automatic for now and see how it does. I'm going to try to get a couple of tenths of a meter on this. We'll see what happens. Let's do that. We'll go down here and we'll see what this looks like. Okay, and it's telling me if I want to stop here, if I want to be ending here, then I need to go down here to get started, which is fine. I can do that. Just quickly, I want to see what this seed activator says for this field. Okay. All right. Okay. I was just looking at that out of curiosity. Okay, so we're gonna go back. Now we're gonna drive. We'll drive down to the back of this field. Now, and this is something because if you guys don't remember, I'm not a farmer in real life, but I have some friends who have a big farm. I go help them sometimes, and this is something like what we just considered. Like, where do I want to end up? How do I want to start this field so I finish where I want to be so I can exit the field? That's actually something that farmers think about. You know, whether they're sowing or they're planting something or even just doing tillage, that's something farmers think about, especially now in the era of precision farming with GPS. They'll often drive to the back corner of the field so they can, when they're done, they'll end up at the gate or somewhere like that. So a place that's convenient to exit the field, so they don't end up when they're finished at the back of the field and then having to either plow all the way back across the end of the field or run over a bunch of crops they've just planted or something like that. So actually thinking about where you're gonna end with course play is, that's a real thing. All right, so we're gonna, and at this time we're gonna start at the first waypoint because the first waypoint's right here. What kind of speed? We're not gonna do 14 miles an hour. Just don't see that happening. Probably 4 miles an hour, maybe. Move the turn speed down to 5. All right, we'll go with this. And we'll see how this goes. And we're plowing. Another thing that I really like about this tractor is it's got great sound. Listen to the sound of this thing. It's a very believable tractor sound. I don't know if they actually found one of these and recorded the actual exhaust of the tractor, but it really sounds good. got our texture here. That's, you know, our plow texture, so we know we're actually doing the work. We can go. We'll go back to our menu here, and we can already see that the needs plowing, you know, reddish pinkish color is going away, so we know it's doing what it needs to do. I'll be interested to see when it gets back down to this end of the field what kind of turn this thing makes, because like I said, for some reason the turn limiter on the tractor is in my opinion not quite right. And I'll have to go in and try to fix that at some point, probably pretty soon. But I just forgot to do it before I started this video, unfortunately. So turn on the field. We're going to deactivate that so it has plenty of room to turn. It should be able to turn on the field, but we'll see what happens here. We'll watch it turn. So yeah, see there, you see what's happening there? See, the tractor knows it should be able to turn sharper, and course play's telling it, hey, turn sharper, but because of the way the hitch, oh, I forget what it's actually called, because it's the scripting is set up to limit how tight of a turn it can make. It's you know, not allowing it to do as tight of a turn as you'd be able to do in real life. I think I'm making sense when I'm trying to explain this. I'm pretty sure you guys know what I'm talking about, and you can see, I mean, that right there was the perfect sort of example of, you know, doing something kind of silly. I don't know, you know, at this end of the field there's not really any trees, so that's not that big of a deal. But down here at this other end of the field, it may cause problems and it may get into trees because it can't turn. The hitch parameters are not allowing it to turn sharp enough. We'll watch it. We'll watch it turn down here to see if we have any issues. And there's a couple of things that I'm going to talk about with you guys. So one of the things that I want to talk about is that in the comments of the last episode, one of you guys wanted me to do like a harvest recap, because I never really did that. You know, I try to keep the videos interesting, so I don't, you know, and part of the time it took me, you know, it took me a couple of hours to harvest one field, or, you know, the big wheat field, I think it took me, I don't know, it probably took me 3.5 or 4 hours to harvest that thing in actual time. So, I mean, I don't really think too many of you would be interested in watching me harvest one field for 4 hours. So I try to keep the videos to a minimum. I kind of try to keep it interesting. So I didn't actually show, let's see how this thing does. Well, it did okay that time. It might stay out of the trees, maybe. But anyways, so I didn't actually show the end of many of the fields, I don't think. So I never actually said, hey, this field made this many bushels of wheat. Hey, I made this much money off of the soybean crop, or, you know, whatever, and etc. And so one of you guys just kind of wanted a harvest recap to kind of see how things went. And at first I was gonna kind of just gloss over the whole harvest results thing, because I'll explain why. And if you guys have been keeping up with the series so far, you know that I have tweaked a lot of the different parameters, such as sale price for the different crops and yield for the different crops. I'm using precision farming, so that's another two or three variables that kind of goes into everything. And the truth of the matter is that the entire time I've been harvesting the wheat and the soybeans and the corn, is I've been fiddling with things. I've been fiddling with different variables and different mods. I use the fruit adjustments mod, and that can vary your yield. That helps you customize your yield. It helps you customize your seed usage. It helps you customize the price in game. I've been messing with all that stuff, and I've been doing that as I've been harvesting this year, so I could try to get my crop yields and my crop sale prices and all that kind of stuff just kind of dialed in. So it's going to be kind of hard for me to do a harvest recap, but I'm going to try. I thought I was going to do a really detailed one, and then I really kind of got to start looking at all the different information that Farming Simulator was telling me, and it doesn't really all compute, and I'll kind of show you why. So let's go quickly. We'll go to the Precision Farming app here, and let's just take let's just look at the wheat field. Okay, so in the way the map is set up, 34 and 35 are one big field. Now, never mind that they have trees in between them, and they're not actually one big field. That's how precision farming treats them, as one big field. All right. So if you'll notice on this field, 34 and 35, I had wheat here. I had wheat in both sides. Now, according to precision farming, my yield on these fields was, well, I'll just let you read it here. So over 200,000 liters. And my grain truck, the Halloween machine, the maximum it can hold is 650 liters. Well, I can tell you right now, I didn't make like 315 trips to the co-op while I was harvesting these two fields, which is what that is. If you divide this number by 650, no, I just realized that I'm being dumb. No, that is not. Let me get back to you. I'll be right back. I just realized that I did something stupid. I'll be right back. Okay, friends. As it turns out, I own Farming Simulator and Precision Farming Unapology, because it's not as dumb as I thought it was. Turns out I was the one making the mistake. I got my units confused, and I thought that it didn't know what it was talking about. Let me show you what confused me. Okay, so we went and look at our let's quickly look here at our harvest income. Now this was wheat income, because that's what we harvested first. This next day is also wheat income, because it took me 2 days. Now this here is going to be our soybean income, and this here is the corn income. So first off, all that added together is just at $115,000. So that would be my total harvest income for this year is $115,000. Okay, now let's go look at precision farming again. All right, so what had me confused is, in my mind, because I'm an American, I was thinking about yield in bushels. And I was thinking in my mind that precision farming thought that field 34 and 35 made 204,663 bushels. No, not bushels, it's liters. And I was thinking, okay, well, my wheat truck holds 650 liters, which it does not. It holds 650 bushels, which is 22,905 liters. Once I remembered that, everything clicked. Makes sense now. Okay. We can carry on I quickly threw a little Excel spreadsheet together, and we can take a look at it now. All right, so here is my quick and dirty Excel spreadsheet to kind of show you guys some numbers here quickly. Okay, so fields 34 and 35, as I mentioned before, they were in wheat. Precision farming, according to Precision Farming, this was my wheat total from those two fields. And now when I convert that to bushels, here's my bushels total. So I've got 5,808 bushels. Now remember, when I started out harvesting those fields were making like 220 bushels to the acre. So that's when I found the fruit adjustment mod and started fiddling with it. So remember, in the beginning, the first probably 2/3 of field 35, the wheat was making 220 to 180 bushels to the acre. After that, I knocked it down substantially, and it was making more like, if I remember right, like 70 to 80 bushels per acre. So that's why this is kind of abnormally high. Now, this is the total acres for the two fields added together. And so here is the bushels per acre count. And this is abnormally high for what we would see in Oklahoma. Normally in Oklahoma, like a really good dryland wheat on a good year, assuming that it's been fertilized appropriately, etc., the weather has been good, etc., we'd be looking at maybe, man, if you had like 70 to 80 bushel per acre, and we're talking about over the whole field, I mean, that would be outstanding. So as you can see, this is quite a bit higher than, it would be in reality. That's because in the beginning it was yielding so high. All right, so next up, we've got the total price. Now, this is what I got paid for that wheat. And so we're right at $12.08 a bushel. And now, if you'll remember, the price per bushel is also something that I messed with. And, this is high for reality, but this is, I have that, the keep it fun factor in there. And so that's why this is a little higher than, it would be in reality. Okay, so moving on, field 32, I had it in soybeans, and our total yield was 1,251 bushels, and so that's 65 bushels to the acre. Now this is pretty accurate for a good crop of full season soybeans, which is what I planted. So this yield is pretty good. If it was double crop beans, this would need to be more like 35. Maybe on a great year you'd get to 40 if all the weather just lined up perfectly right. But this is pretty good. This is a pretty good number for real full season bean yield. This is the money I made, and so again, it's kind of high. It's actually quite high. You wouldn't even think about getting this many bushels the acre. I mean, dollars per bushel. And I actually adjusted this down some, like as I was harvesting the field. So that's why that's kind of unreasonably high. Now, if you'll see here, our corn. Now, this corn price per acre number, that's actually pretty realistic, honestly. As you'll see here in field 33, we ended up with 2,774 bushels of corn. That made it 162 bushels the acre, and that's actually, for dryland corn, that's actually pretty good. That's actually a really good dryland corn yield here in Oklahoma. So this is the money I made on the corn, and like I said, this is the dollar per bushel that we made in the corn. But one thing that I mentioned before, and that you guys need to realize, is that I was changing a lot of things in all these numbers while I was harvesting. Now, that said, my intent is that from now on, we are not going to change anything, and my Traction King is slipping. I was afraid this was going to happen, and I think part of the reason is probably because it can't turn as sharp as it needs to turn. So we'll stop this guy, we'll back him up, get him going again. I'm going to have to figure out that problem there, because that's going to cause issues the whole time, I think. On top of just being annoying. Alright, so we got to switch this to probably nearest waypoint. That should get it. Yep. Alright, so that is the long story of how Harvest ended up. Now, I believe that from now on, I am not going to change anything else. So the first year was kind of my, okay, get all my parameters set, get all my variables set up how I want to set them and how I want them to be. I believe that from now on, we're just gonna play the game. Like, my realism is in the ballpark of where I want it to be, and we're just gonna play now. We're gonna quit fiddling with gameplay economy stuff. I think comfortable now, we're just gonna leave it alone. Okay, so we're making some pretty good progress here. I am digging the bigger tractor with the bigger disc, because we would still be way over there by the trees if we were using the 4430 with the little chisel plow. So it's really nice to have this big four-wheel drive tractor back from the shop. Speaking of the shop, I told you guys in a previous video what the shop found out was wrong with the tractor. You know, it needed a clutch, so they put a new clutch in it. The pilot bearing on the clutch had gone out prior to me owning the tractor, back when my uncle still owned it. The pilot bearing had gone out, and it had caused issues with the input shaft that's going into the transmission. So they had to put a clutch in it. They had to change that shaft out. While they were in there, they kind of took a look at the rest of the clutch, said, you know, it's not worth fixing, basically. It's going to cost you a lot of money, and then, you know, something else on the tractor is probably just going to break in, you know, a couple thousand hours. So I didn't really have them fix anything else. The total charge on the tractor was $8,300. So to get this thing going again to where I could use it, it cost me $8,300, and that was parts and that was labor. So it was a pretty good chunk of change that I really didn't want to spend, but at the same time, you know, I'm going to be able to get work done a lot faster with these bigger tools, and some of the tools that, you know, I'm going to want to have in the next couple of years. Having this bigger tractor with more horsepower, four-wheel drive, it's going to make getting some of the future work that I have planned done a whole lot faster. So, was it expensive to get it fixed? Yes, it was expensive to get it fixed. Was it worth it to get it fixed? To me, I think as long as the rest of the tractor stays pretty reliable, I think that it'll be good. I got back that, I don't know if you guys remember the first time the mechanic came out, he took some oil samples, they sent them in. All the oil sample tests looked pretty good for the age of tractor that this thing is, because this tractor has got almost 9,300 hours on it. Well, it's got 9,250 hours on it, basically. So it's a high hour tractor, but all the oil samples looked good, and they said, you know, with some luck, it'll run, you know, a lot longer for you. Now, another thing they did do while they had it in the shop is that this tractor, if you'll notice, it's not articulating. So it's a crab steer tractor. So all four tires steer. And all four tires have a U-joint in the outboard part of the axle. So they went ahead and they replaced all of those U-joints while they had it in the shop, and they also fixed a couple other minor things. So hopefully the tractor is good to go now for quite some time. You know, I don't have a lot of acres, so it should be good for me. And hopefully by the time that I start getting too much more land, maybe I'll be able to afford something a little newer along the same lines when it comes to horsepower. So I think that I am gonna let you guys go. I don't know how long this video is gonna be now, since I sort of split it in the middle to do those quick calculations. Let me know what you think about the harvest data. Let me know what you think about the pricing and the yield. I know that a few of you guys are from the Midwest. I think a couple of you are actually from Oklahoma. So let me know what you think. Put it down in the comments below, because I'd be interested to know. And what do you think about the 4490? I'm glad to have it back. The 4490, it needs a nickname. Like, we got the Halloween machine. Well, I guess it's the only thing so far that has a nickname. But the 4490 needs a nickname. So if you got a good idea for a nickname, put it down in the comments, and I'll give it a few days, and then I'll pick a nickname for the 4490. One last thing that I want to ask some of you guys who are pretty die-hard, dedicated fans of mine, and subscribers and commenters and likers, would you guys be interested in a possible live stream? Now, I've never really understood the draw of a live stream for somebody. I never really understood before now why somebody would want to watch a live stream, and then why somebody would want to do a live stream. But now I'm sort of starting to understand, and it's not so much the draw, I think, of just watching somebody play Farming Simulator live, but the potential for live interaction. So let me know what you guys think. Would you like to see me try to do a live stream? Now, I'll be honest, I live in a rural area, so I'm not sure my internet connection will be good enough to do it anyways. But if you guys are interested in trying it, I will try. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And would you like it done in this series? To start with anyways, would you like the first live to be in this series, or would you like the first live to be in my Farming Simulator 22 series? So let me know what you think in the comments. Guys, thanks so much for spending some time with me today. I'm glad to have the tractor back. I'm glad you guys came along. It's interesting to know how the harvest turned out, and if you liked the content and you haven't subscribed already, it would be awesome if you did that, and hit the little bell notification. I have a dedicated Facebook page in the works, so look for that before too long. And guys, thanks a lot, and we will see you next time.